you'd know anything about fun. You keep me trapped in this room all day. Oh, come on. I could be out there doing something. Heck, I'm pretty sure just kicking dirt would be funnier. And far more entertaining than staring at the same four walls for the next 8 hours. It's not my fault I got grounded. I would argue that point, my good guard. They had it coming. Well, of course that brat did. Did you see how he was treating that poor girl? Hey, I stand for what's right. If they want to punish me for it, fine, but it ain't gonna change my opinion. Look, I believe there's a right and there's a wrong, and what I saw was wrong. So there. I believe people should be treated with respect. Hence how I treat you. I treat you with respect, don't I? I treat you like I would treat anybody else. But that nobleman's brat was treating the girl like she was beneath him. I had to kick him in his chest. He needed a good bucking, and it did the trick. Granted, he couldn't breathe for the next 5 minutes, but I think he saw the point. Just because my methods are sometimes crude and a little barbaric, doesn't mean they're not effective. I can be just as diplomatic as I can be as violent, alright? Besides, what would you have done if you saw someone getting mistreated right in front of you? Wouldn't you want to go help them? Or at the very least stand up for them? Or argue in their cause? Guardsman? Hey. Hello? There you are. What happened to you for a minute? Oh. Why do I treat you like an equal? Well, that's fairly obvious, isn't it? It's one of my core beliefs. Plus, you've kind of known me since I was a little baby fawn. So, I've kind of grown close to you. You're like a second parent to me, honestly. I mean, yeah, you've known my parents hired you to take care of me when I was a fawn and you weren't much older than me. Maybe instead of a parent, I should call you a sibling. Maybe that'd be more accurate. I mean, we've never been close like siblings, but you've been around me for so long and I know so much about you and you basically know me like the back of your hand. It would make sense for me to call you my sibling. Although I probably shouldn't do that publicly because people might get confused thinking that there's another heir to the throne. And then technically you would have a claim over it because technically you'd be the eldest. Well, you're older than me. I mean, I'm only like 18. So you're older than me, that's for sure. Or at the very least more mature. You know when to hold back your tongue. I quite frankly don't. When someone irritates me, I give them what for. Call it crude or rude, all you want. But I'll shout for what I believe in. Anyway, look, Guardsman, why are you shutting the door? I figured you would have want to keep that open to look out and check for spies, or... I mean, you're very diligent in your duties, so this is rather different. That's... I suppose it's a worthwhile question. I suppose my parents wouldn't tell you, now would they? After all, that's supposed to be royal affairs. But I'll tell you because, well, we're tight-knit as can be. No. I have no plans on marrying anyone. Despite how many people my parents try to marry me off to. You know, they tried to marry me off to a vampire once. Very interesting fellow, but I could tell his heart wasn't in it. He was being forced to just as much as I was. So we managed to finagle our way out of it. I think he eventually ended up marrying the Duchess. Yeah, the human duchess from the kingdom over. Yeah. Hmm? Oh, how are politics going with the human kingdom? They're going as alright as they can be. I mean, there's always going to be some hostility between our kingdoms. That's kind of, well, built in. Well, our great grandparents fought in a war that lasted 8 generations, the 100-Year War. And then it stopped when both nations ran out of resources. Simply, we couldn't make weapons to fight. So we stopped. And now you've got the peace between us, which has been going since my grandma's generation. So, yeah. Huh? How do I feel about you being a human? I mean, how do you feel about me being a fawn? I mean, does it really change anything? I mean, sure, I got hooves instead of feet, but what does that matter? I suppose I have fluffy ears that you've like to touch sometimes and I get annoyed at you. But besides that, I'm perfectly nice and you're perfectly nice back. And I'm quite happy with this arrangement, to be honest. I don't really want you leaving my service anytime soon, so no worries about that. You're asking a lot of weird questions. You okay, guardsman? Alright, I'll answer a few more. But it's a weird day to pick 1,000 questions. How do I feel about... Oh, that's an interesting question, I will not lie. Well, my parents don't like that I, prefer the opposite, I prefer the same sex. Well, in truth, I prefer both. I like female and I like men, but you know how that is. Parents say that it's wrong and blasphemous, that I'm evil, yada yada yada. I tell them that they've done worse things in bed than I'll do in my entire life, and then they shut up. They forget that I have my own spies. Being a prince, that's natural I'd have them. Oh. Guardsman, I've told you this before. We can't find your family. They're well beyond our borders. And even if we could find them, we would never be able to take you to them, or even take them to here. Getting you here is a hard enough thing it is. Well, for instance, to our north is the Troll Kingdom, and they are a pretty big roadblock, no matter what you do. They won't invade, but doesn't mean we can invade either. We're at a stalemate with them. And to our south is the Human Kingdom, and they, the same deal, stalemate. To our east is the Kingdom of Vampires, who decide not to war at all, and going there's a death sentence, and she'll just be turned into a ghoul the moment you walk onto their lands. And to our west, that's giant territory, and unless you want to be eaten, stepped on, or squished, I would recommend just staying clear of that altogether. Regardless of which way you go, you're kinda dead. And that applies to your parents as well. We can't find them because we're stuck. I mean, the easiest way to travel is through the Human Kingdoms, and maybe the Troll Kingdom, but the other two are impossible. Why did we settle here? Oh, well, that's a question I actually don't know. I'm sure my parents know, but that knowledge is not going to be given to me till I become king. And well, I hope this doesn't offend you, but I don't really want my parents to die so I can become king anytime soon. As bigoted as they can be, I still love them. Sure, they're rude and they can call me names all they want, but I love them all the same. what's the next question, guardsman? Huh? That's whoa. No, I'm fine. Just a tad flustered from that remark and question. Guardsman, do you know what you're signing yourself up for? If I were to marry you, let's review the pros and the cons, shall we? Sure, you'd become massively more influential, more powerful, you'd gain me as a lover, but as a consequence, you would have to say goodbye to everything you hold dear and give your full service to the crown. Is that something you're willing to do? It's not an easy task being royalty, and sometimes you have to do some really nasty, horrible stuff. I've killed my fair share of people and tortured. That's just a small fragment of stuff you'd have to do as royalty to ensure your people are safe and happy. Are you prepared for that? Tell you what, how about we date for a while, and if that goes well, we'll marry. Does that sound appealing to you? I'm glad, guardsman. Or should I call you honey now? Anyway, you should be getting to bed, guardsman. It's about to swap shifts. I'll see you in the morning.